came a telegram announcing that Wilfred Darwin had been machine gunned to death exactly 7 days before the armistice. Not a fragment of his body survived. And when, after a month, his personal effects, his personal belongings, came back to his mother, he found his last piece of writing in his own handwriting, where he had written those lines of Tagore: "Let this be my parting word. When I go from hence, what I have seen is unsurpassable." Even after all these experiences, a poet can find the world, the experiences of the world, the magic of the world, the wonder of the world, the presence of humanity, something unsurpassable. This experience stayed on with Tagore. And after the horrors of the First World War, if people had thought that at least for some time people in the world would realize the horrors of war, the horrors of imperialism trying to extend its frontiers, its centers of power, its hold on the world through aggressive wars, maybe there would be peace for some time. Nothing of the kind happened. In 1918 itself, fascism raised its head in Italy. In 1922, Benito Mussolini came to power. In 1933, Hitler came to power in Germany. The word fascism, the word Nazism, these became parts of common parlance. They were all over the world. A frightful, aggressive power was extending its claws towards the world. In 1936, the Spanish Republic was under danger. The fascists of the world had come together and trying to stifle the Republic in Spain. And through these years, Tagore's mind was responding to all these. In March 1937, in an appeal to the conscience of humanity, Tagore wrote, "In Spain, the world's civilization is being menaced and trampled underfoot. Against the democratic government of the Spanish people, Franco has raised the standard of revolt. International fascism is pouring men and money in aid of the rebels. Moors and foreign legionaries are sweeping over the beautiful plains of Spain, trailing behind them death, hunger, and desolation. Madrid, the proud center of culture and art, is in flames. Her priceless treasures of art are being bombed by the rebels. Even hospitals and creches are not spared. Women and children are murdered, made homeless and destitute. The devastating tide of international fascism must be checked. In Spain, the inhuman recrudescence of obscurantism, of racial prejudice, of rapine and glorification of war must be given the final rebuff. Civilization must be saved from its being swamped by barbarism. At this hour of the supreme trial and suffering of the Spanish people, I appeal to the conscience of humanity. Help the People's Front in Spain. Help the government and the people. Cry in million voices, halt to reaction. Come in your millions to the aid of democracy, the succor of civilization and culture. This was in 1937, in March. A month later, the German planes bombed Guernica, a small town in northern Spain that became the occasion and provocation for Picasso's great painting, Guernica. 8 months after Guernica, on Christmas Day, 1937, Tagore wrote yet another poem. The day my consciousness was released from the cave of dissolution, it drew me to the edge of a volcano, spouting the flames of hell, all in a tumult of wonderment, spelling terrible calamity. Its burning smoke, roaring deep disdain of humanity, its ominous breathing, shaking the earth, staining the air with the hue of black. I saw the self-destructive, idiotic frenzy of her time, with the filthy mockery of corruption all over its body. On one hand, arrogant inhumanity, the shameless vaunt of madness. On the other, the faltering footsteps of cowardice, clasping to its chest the treasured holdings of a miser, with a moment's growl of a scared animal, giving way to silent and safe acquiescence. All the masters of states, with the mature authority, hold back within the tight lips all orders and decisions in doubts and fears, while the monstrous birds rush into the troubled skies, flight after flight, from the banks of the river of death. Vultures, craving for human flesh, the mechanical wings in loud clamour, desecrating the sky. O Judge, seated on the throne of eternal time, give me strength. Bring me the voice of thunder to my throat, so that I can condemn this havoc that kills women and children, a condemnation that will ring forever in the very breathing of a shameful mockery, even when the stifled, terrorized, shackled age will be lost in silence in the ashes of its funereal pyre. On the same day, Christmas Day, 1937, Tagore wrote a short poem. A poem which reverses totally those memorable lines from the Gitanjali poem written in 1912 that Wilfred Owen remembered so fondly even before his death. Let this be my parting word. What I have seen is unsurpassable. It is completely reversed in a poem written on 25th December 1937. He still speaks about the last words he would like to leave to the world when he passed away, but very different words. While the dragons fill the universe with a venomous breath, gentle words of peace will sound a futile mockery. Hence, before I take leave, let me call on those who are preparing themselves in their homes for the battle with the demons. I can't help the temptation of speaking the same words in my own language, Bangla. নাগিনীরা চারিদিকে ফেলিতেছে বিষাক্ত নিঃশ্বাস, শান্তির ললিত বাণী শোনাইবে ব্যর্থ পরিহাস, বিদায় নেবার আগে তাই ডাক দিয়ে যায়, দানবের সাথে যারা সংগ্রামের তরে প্রস্তুত হতেছে ঘরে ঘরে. You can see history turning into conscience and turning the entire sensibility of a poet to a completely different kind of commitment. And this new commitment on the part of Tagore was not confined to a few poems here and there. The last few years of his life, particularly from 1933, was devoted to a program, an extremely well thought out program, not a poetic program as such, a program of social engagement, where in Shantiniketan he tried to set up a whole new educational program, a program that would reconstruct culture against what he considered civilization, the way it had been defined in the West, in the First World War, in the rise of fascism, and leading towards the Second World War in a matter of a few years. The first thing he said about this crisis of civilization, which was the theme of the last speech he ever wrote and delivered in May 1941, just a few months before he passed away in August, his last birthday speech, which was titled Crisis of Civilization. He offered this different meaning of civilization, where in the very process of Western civilization, he discovered, he noted a coercive power. You civilize, you make people civil. You bring people's normal human aspirations under a legal system that is rooted in the proliferation of capital, in the consolidation of capital. The entire legal system, the civil system, is geared to protecting capital, to protecting private property, at the cost of the freedoms of men, the freedoms of humanity. Civilization is civilizing by coercion, by force, by pressure. And this is a system he challenges. Just as the first ideologues and theoreticians of the Progressive Writers Association, his contemporaries at this point of time, they were redefining the word progress. At a point of time when progress had come to be identified with the progress of man's mastery over nature, man's mastery over resources, the Progressive Writers Association and the progressive writers who had come under that banner were trying to redefine progress as progress for the emancipation of humankind. Not for control over nature, not for mastery over nature, not for development in economic terms, but development in human terms, development in cultural terms. This is the point where the first program of the progressive writers, there was this publication called Pragati in Bengali, in which some of the finest historians and philosophers of the time, people like D.P. Mukherjee, who had taught in Lucknow and established the foundations of Indian sociology in Lucknow, and Hiren Mukherjee, the great professor of history, Surendranath Goswami, yet another philosopher, they were contributing to a volume in which they were redefining Pragati, progress, in these new terms, in the terms of culture, not in the terms of Western coercive civilization. This whole turn of culture, culture that allows you the freedom to grow naturally out of your own histories, out of your own memories, out of your own languages, out of your own local sensibilities. The nurturing of this is culture, and there lies the possibility of a different kind of progress opposed to the Western idea of civilization. And when Tagore was laying down the foundations of this new education, education for culture, he was making new formulations. In one of the formulations he says, Atmakartritva, mastery over the self, comes only with Srishti Kartritva, mastery over creativity. Only when you can create out of your natural resources, out of the resources that your people, your setting, your lifestyle, your life culture gives you, that gives you your Atmakartritva, your mastery over yourself. He questions the values, the new values that capitalism spreads all over the world. He would train his students in Shantiniketan against what he calls Vastulubhana, the greed for materials. What a wonderful term. This is a new word in Bengali. This is a new word in any Indian language. The greed for material, the greed for commodity. And all of these he tries to bring together into a single ideology for culture, for the free flow of culture. When in Shantiniketan, lessons he envisaged, they were never realized like that, of course. He envisaged that the lessons would be imparted not through lectures, but through creation. Creation of sculptures, creation of art, music, singing. These would flow through the space, a space which would also mow down the walls that separated the richer, more affluent, more privileged classes from the less privileged, depowered, disempowered tribals. Shantiniketan, he hoped, would provide a meeting ground for all of these. This whole vision of a culture against capitalism which led the civilizational process, was a writer's recognition of the power and the need for culture. This was not realized in Shantiniketan, and we were able to shunt Tagore away, turn him into a mystic, turn him into a theme for various programs of the state. But somehow, some of these strands, some of these connections went on throwing up traces in different parts of the country. I'll end with just a reference to a state and its crisis, which I understood this afternoon was one of the last concerns of Anil Sinha also, Manipur. In Manipur, it's a story of two very close theatre friends of mine and the Indian state and the politics of culture and the culture of politics in Manipur today, where I see culture being reclaimed and reconstituted against the machinations of the state capital media nexus in an extremely original way. Back in the early 1970s, Haisnam Kanailal, a young Manipuri actor, joined the National School of Drama in Delhi. He came with his Manipuri language, his Manipuri culture, which embodied And he was resistant. As you know, at the National School of Drama, you have to speak perfect Hindi. Hindi with even a dialectal touch from the different parts of the Hindi-speaking India would not be tolerated in the National School of Drama. It had to be the perfect Hindi. And as you know, the Manipuri language has nothing to do with the Indo-Aryan Sanskritic languages that we speak in our part of India, in our different parts of India. It is a language with its roots in the Tibeto-Burman line, a very different kind of speaking, a very different kind of utterance, and Kanalal couldn't ever speak the perfect Hindi. He became a butt of ridicule. He was attacked. He was treated awfully. And at the end of the first year, Kanalal was literally thrown out of the school. He was not given a promotion to the second year, which I consider to be a shame. We're one of India's greatest living